How did I get here? Well, for me, it's been a whole life journey, right? So I had concussions when I was young. I didn't really know that that was an issue. At 17, I got knocked out for like at least 12 hours. It was a kind of a stupid thing. Is where as a quarterback, sometimes you're trying to get away, you jump up in the air. And I could always jump really well because I was a basketball player, so I jumped way probably too much. But I was way up in the air, and they caught me kind of at the ankles. And it was one of those things where they flip you back, schwap, back on your head. And I actually landed on a sprinkler head. Evidently, I wasn't even breathing. I was kind of getting, where you get like this. And so in the ambulance ride, they had to hit me with a shot to try to get me to function. But looking back, I mean, I didn't even realize at the time. It's like when I was at UNLV, even in junior college, I could throw the ball about 75, 80 yards. By the time I was in my last year in college, I was top out at like 60, 65. And I was like, that's weird. I could throw more when I was a sophomore in high school. I didn't realize I was having this nerve damage and all these problems were starting to happen. So it greatly affected my career. That's where it starts. And my life really fell apart. Me, I've always been an overworker on it, whatever I do. So for me, I literally dedicated, I said 8 hours a day, but it sometimes would be 12 hours a day to research. And I would just research and research and research. I just made it like my new thing. And I just love that attitude of like, hey, I may not be as smart as some people, but I'm gonna bust my tail and find a way. So we started working at it, and we started doing what Carl and I both believed in. We got it from Dr. Ingalls, which was stacking therapies, taking therapies and saying, okay, this one might help you 10%, this one might help you 2%, this might help you 15%. We're gonna do them all. Started working for all kinds of things. We started using it on cancer patients, whatever it was, to help support what they were doing with chemo or whatever it was. That's how we started, and the Care From Anywhere came from the fact that we wanted to have a dream of being able to have a lab here at the Pacific Clinic where we can continue to find better ways to help people. If someone has something better, we're trying it. We're adding to it. But how do we extrapolate the information of what we do in the Pacific Clinic to help people who can't come to Pacific Clinic? What about the person in Clotis who can't come in here, or the person in East Overshoe, whereverville? How do they come in here? Some person from the Philippines or Africa. How can we help these people? And Care From Anywhere became challenging ourselves on the fact that how do we take this lab and make it available to people everywhere? And then how do we actually even adapt this lab where we can treat people who can't afford to have to come in here for what I call acute therapy? And then it just started expanding into the rest of life. Whatever it is you're gonna help somebody, it better be simple. It better be straightforward. It's like, I always use the analogy of football. If you're gonna run an offense, you have to run that offense. If you're gonna run option offense, run the option offense. What hurts is when a team is doing something that they're not used to doing. Well, people are that way in their lives. You have to be able to incorporate what we're doing into their life and then watch their life change. And then as they change, they start to inhabit that change. They start to be the change. But you have to not make it a second career. And man, there's so much information in the world right now about dieting. It's like, everything. There's so many different opinions. There's so much in there about what you can do for this or what you can do for that. But breaking that down to something that is able to be implemented, we put it in the categories of 7 essential elements. There's like 7 essential elements to your health, to your happiness. We think, okay, what do we do the most during the day? Breathe, move, think. So what if we controlled our thoughts? What if you actually, now you're not going to control all your thoughts from day one, but what if your goal is to actually think on purpose, actually attack everything you're doing on purpose, not just inhabit this life as in inhabit, what comes goes. What if it's all on purpose? What if it's all because that's what I want to do? Breathing is a mechanism that is, come to find out breathing is good for you is what I like to say. But it's actually the breathing process. It's not just the ventilation, it's the perfusion of the oxygen into the tissue. Over 80% of the calories that I consume are expelled out my lungs. A lot of people think you burn a calorie. You can't actually burn a calorie. That'd be changing it, the molecular structure, right? It doesn't burn. It expels. One way or another, it expels. Sweat, urine, whatever, it expels. But over 80% expels through our lungs, right? 2 molecules go in, right? Oxygen is 2 molecules, 3 molecules come out, CO2. Movement is incredibly important, and we call it movement, not exercise. And even movement is kind of a misnomer for what it really is. It's positioning. It is movement, but it's also positioning. What I mean by that is that you'll see, I even started to set up straight when I started thinking about it a little bit, because the fact is that our body, like we said, is an electrical system, and it's always flowing. Everything's flowing. If a bear scared you right now, the things that take place in about a hundredth of a second is crazy. That goes inside your brain and everything. Just that jolt. That's happening constantly in our body, and so letting our body flow is extremely important. Atmosphere is one of our 7 elements. Atmosphere, we live in a 75-degree world. We think that that's wonderful, and it is wonderful. I mean, I'm the same way. I go out and I start my car remotely to make sure it's cold or warm before I get there. We want to be in a 75-degree world. Every office building go in 75 degrees. Every home 75 degrees. But that's not good for our immune system. It's not good for our hormone system. Your atmosphere, we found, and there's research, tons of research, that if you're getting outside 4 to 6 hours, you can start to expand your microbiome, your immune system, your hormone system, your body. Just everything starts to adapt. So where do you start with nutrition? Water. It's funny, it's like they don't really realize that's how nutritious water is for your body, how important it is for everything that takes place. We're literally an electrical system, and electrical systems don't work without the water in there. So you have to have that conduit for everything that's going on in your body. We found that if you drink 2 glasses of water right when you wake up, it almost like it breaks the seal. I don't know why. All I know is that the rest of the day you feel like drinking. We eat the same things. I'm the worst at it. I'm good with having the exact same thing for breakfast every morning, exact same thing for lunch every day. We start to shrink our microbiome. Our microbiome starts to go, okay, well, this is all we have to deal with. So this is what we're good at. Then what we don't realize is our microbiome affects our immune system. It's the biggest part of our immune system. All these kind of things that are taking place out here that our body now can't deal with. Sugar's the other thing, is just out. In our diets, we just say, listen, you got to get rid of sugars. There's great alternatives. Sugar just happens to be very refined, and it happens to have a quick hit on your body that causes problems. Sleep is huge, and that's not me talking. Again, that's just scientists out there talking about how important sleep is. There's a controversy over you really need 8 hours straight, or you need 8 hours total, and there's all these kind of things. At the end of the day, we want to sleep more, and we want to sleep better, right? So how do we do that? It's diet. You know, we use a lot of intermittent fasting, and we teach people don't eat in the evening, okay? Eat the right things so your body's not inflamed, so there's not a battle going on. Why do we intermittent fast? What does that got to do with sleep? You're allowing your body not to have to concentrate on anything except for what? Healing my brain. So I can literally, I'm going to control my brain and say, that's what we're doing right now, brother. We're going to control, we're going to heal. So I get this relaxed stage, and I'm giving all my resources to my brain. So that's kind of a cheat. I like to say we have 7 elements, and then the 7th element is purpose. And purpose is supernatural. Purpose is one of the major effects of health. And when you get really sick, I don't care if it's cancer. I'll talk to cancer patients and they'll say, you know, everybody takes care of me all day, all night. They always have to worry about me, do this and that. I'm just a burden on everybody's life. That's one of the number one things you hear them say. I'm just such a burden. I'm so sorry to be a burden. And I found it with patient after patient after patient, or clients as we call them, is that if they find purpose, they start to get well. I don't care if they're obese, I don't care if they have diabetes, you start to see purpose and they start to change. Our thing with purpose, we say, this week's gonna be the greatest week I've lived so far, because next week, guess what? It's gonna be greater.